Discount Podcast.
Welcome in, you cheap beggars, to Discount, the bargain bin gaming podcast hosted by three hosts so small you might think they're Keris's chance for winning a season. I am your host, I am Josh, I'm plugging into player 2.
I'm Darren, hello, and the light at the end of the tunnel that was season 3.
It's me! It's Keris! Yay!
Hey, yes, and we're back with our final fight episode because it's our season 3 recap.
Yeah!
So yeah, slightly different to normal, and we're also set up slightly different to normal.
We are.
So hopefully the audio works, but as you know, last episode never happened because the audio didn't work.
Yeah.
No, it just never happened.
It never happened.
We've been gaslighting the audience this whole time. We never recorded
We
the
never
episode.
did. We never did.
Your poor wife-to-be
I know.
came along,
Yeah.
sat down, recorded with us, and then we went, not for you.
Yeah, she
It was actually
doesn't
really,
exist either.
like, shitty that got cut because it was a good episode
good.
with Lauren in
Never
as
was.
well.
It was nice.
And rather selfishly, she decided to destroy it. I don't know what she did.
She
know.
decided.
She decided to destroy it. Sorry, can I have some more? But yes, we are here with the season 3 recap. So we're going to be looking back over the whole season, over our most accurate, our most value for money, our most entertaining, our
Most entertaining.
our most
most
entertaining,
entertaining.
most everything. But before we do that, we do need to go back and look at the tail end of our final episode, which was roguelites, and open the vault. Can you guys help? Yes, so we're back in the vault to add our final game to it. There's been a lot of really good games added to the vault this season, mainly because we've got a lot of really good games, which really helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, for roguelites, we had 3 games on offer, and all 3, I would say, really good. In fact, the one that maybe we were less sold on, Darren has since platinumed.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a good time.
But yeah, we had Returnal, Risk of Rain 2, and Enter the Gungeon.
Yes.
Those were our 3 roguelites. 3 very roguelike roguelikes. And we asked the public what they thought the best one was. So I'm going to turn to you two, as I obviously did the poll and I know which one won. Which game do you think is entering the vault?
Before we begin, can we just take like 2 other games out and put all of these in?
Which games would you take out?
Blood Bowl.
Oh, you mean from previous seasons? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair. From previous seasons we can do. I don't think there's any bad ones from this season. That
I don't know, maybe whatever one embarrassing.
Catherine one embarrassing.
I liked these more than I like that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, what game out of the ones from here? Because we're not removing anyone from. We need. They are standing. Blood Bowl stands strong in sport
It does.
Does it sound strong?
compared to what the other ones in sport were. Probably not
Do
actually.
you know, like the adage that we need to remember history so we're not doomed to repeat?
Yeah,
That's why
yeah.
Blood Bowl's in the vault.
Yeah.
But which is the roguelike going in? Go on, guys. Go on.
It's Returnal.
It's
Returnal.
It's going to be Returnal.
Don't fuck
for sure.
around.
Why are you so sure it's Returnal?
Because it's the
It's
most popular
Returnal.
game and it's probably the most high quality one.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. One game definitely lost.
Okay, was it Risk of Rain?
It was Risk of
My
Rain
boy.
2. Enter the Gungeon came second,
Yeah.
and Returnal far and away won
Can
this.
I also, speaking of Risk of Rain, I'd like to give a little shout out. I don't think this person listens to our podcast, but there is a guy on Instagram who I went to check out because every time we
Honestly,
posted
my
something
hero.
about Risk of Rain, they just commented, play Risk of Rain. And I was like, who is this person? And I went and checked on it and he was just like, I'm the #1 commenter of playing Risk of Rain. And he just goes on anything that has Risk of Rain in it and
My
comments,
guy.
play Risk of Rain.
His whole thing is following hashtags. I think it's a bot. It's got to be a bot.
It's got to be a bot, but I do love
But
it.
what a legend.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but if a bot does listen to our podcast, well done for gaining sentience and having wonderful taste.
Hey, beep boop beep to you, friends.
He's just very into. Maybe it's Astrobot. Maybe we've got it
it's
confused.
It
Astrobot.
just made me laugh every time. And then when I went on there and the bio was #1 commenter of this precise thing, I was like, that's fucking great.
It's great as well because it's like, oh, I played Risk of Rain. When it's play Risk of Rain, like, what the fuck do you think I did?
To be fair, you didn't. You played Risk of Rain 2, not
That's
Risk
true.
of Rain, and that's what it was
I
telling you
did
to do.
install Risk of Rain, and I opened it, and I did not play it.
Fair enough. But Returnal was the winner. You are right. I think it won with about 80%
That
of the
sounds
vote.
right.
But Enter the Gungeon tried, and Risk of Rain showed up.
It was there.
It showed up.
I think
Risk of Rain.
all three of them are worth playing.
Oh my god, the bot was here. Should we close the vault?
Sure.
Yeah.
And then reflect back on the rest of the season. Go on, guys. I closed that far too early.
I was going to say, what the hell was that?
But yeah, Into the Genre is where we normally go now. But because it's the final one, we aren't doing Into the Genre.
There is no genre.
There is no genre to do because we didn't select anything. We're just going to go straight into fighting over our favourite ones. The other option to do, I mean, if we want to do it out of order, is do our top 5 and bottom 3 games at this point. Because I feel like that would be an interesting way to do it. So normally we'd go, we're doing this, we're doing that. Should we have a little look at our worst games that people bought this year?
Yeah.
We all have our own bottom 3. We'll do it as we do our Game of the Year edition, where we'll look at our third one, someone will mention it, and if someone has it higher on their list, we'll hold off talking about the game. And just do it that way. So, bottom games. Karis, what is the third worst game that was bought this year?
Right.
So
Controversial.
give us the name, and then we'll decide whether anyone else has said it.
Okay. Mine was, I've got the initials down here and I don't know what the full name of the game is.
Ooh.
Life is Strange, that's it. Life is Strange True Colours.
No one else has that, I don't think.
It was my number 4.
Yeah.
I have the platinum for it.
Yeah. Yeah. This was, I'm going to say it's controversial because, to be perfectly honest, the stream I did of it, I did enjoy, but I didn't enjoy the game. I enjoyed streaming and taking the piss out of the game.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it was about it. It's just like, it felt very almost like cringy. The dialogue was cringy. Everything was a bit cringy, and it wasn't trying to be. And I don't know. It was.
Do you think you sort of ended at a point before the game becomes a bit more interesting?
Yeah, but if I have to stream for 2 hours and it's not interesting by that point.
I'm not arguing against that. By more interesting, I'm not saying it becomes good. I say it becomes more interesting. I do think this is potentially the weakest of the Life is Strange games from what I've got from you look at the reviews of them. I think it's one of the weaker ones that people love the first 2, and there's another one coming out soon that people seem to be excited for. But yeah, it's very much. I look at these as Telltale without the heart.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. They just feel a bit bland.
They're Manic Pixie Dream games.
Yeah, to be honest, like it was a weird one for me to put down, and I was kind of like 50-50 about it because I did enjoy elements of it. It wasn't terrible, but it's not a game I would be going back to anytime soon. I just found it too boring, really, in the time that it had to become less boring for me to be like, oh yeah, that's one I'll pick up. You know what I mean?
I also think it was a bad superpower game.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, that's what the category was. Oh yeah, definitely top 3.
Technically has a superpower.
Yeah.
She's a big empath.
Yeah.
Darren, what was your number 3 game?
My number 3 worst game was Mega Dimension Neptunia with some selection of letters and numbers after it.
VII. Is that later on your list?
That is my number 2.
Right.
I think it's meant to be V2.
Yes, it is.
But it's either 7 or VII, not V2.
We'll hold off talking about it until we get to Karis' number 2. And my number 3, which I think is a shock, is Far Cry Primal.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair, actually.
It's the worst of the Far Cry games, I think, by quite a way.
Probably.
And I'm just more annoyed because of the grind for the platinum.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind the story too much. It's just abhorrent how it's put together.
Mm-hmm.
The fact you have to just... You complete the story, you do everything else, and you still got another 20 levels to go. And it's just like, go kill mammoths for 3 hours. Like, great, thanks game, that's really fun. I think it was actually about 6 hours of mammoth killing. I'm just like, good God, it's not worth it.
It's very like, the game's kind of bland to begin with, and you go through it all, you're like, right, it was fine, at least it's done with. And it's like, no, you have shitloads left to do.
I can't believe they decided to go,
Must I?
We'll punish the platinum hunters now. You're like, well, you've punished the game players. Why punish them as well? Stop punishing everyone. But yeah, potentially their worst Far Cry outing, which is a shame. Number 2s, we'll go with Mega Dimension Neptunia. Darren, go on, and you and Keris talk about this.
Oh, it's just fucking
'Cause
annoying.
It's not on my list.
Yeah.
It's just annoying, innit? Like, I wanted to like it because I know people who like the source material, and the game itself seems okay. Like, feature-wise, I think it's got some stuff going on. It's just fucking annoying. Like, every time those little voice lines came out, it drove me up the fucking wall.
Yeah.
And, like, what right does that game have, having its first save point, like, an hour in?
Yeah.
So, I
What a mess.
I felt like it was, if you played it, it's a game that if you played it muted and with your eyes closed, it'd be a fine game. But the problem is, you can't play a game with your eyes closed.
No.
You play it muted be fine. You just stick like a podcast on, you put some TV on it, because the mechanics of the game is, when Darren was playing it, you seem to enjoy
I was kind of into it. I liked the combat, I liked the movement, but it's like, do you know you have some of those games where all the presentation and everything is really well done and the gameplay's just shit?
Yeah.
This is like the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
The
As we
gameplay's solid and everything else is shit.
As we talk about this, Keris is just curling into a ball.
Listen, I think that this is possibly the most I've ever cringed playing a game. And that is saying something. I felt dirty playing this game.
It is hypersexualized with questionably aged people.
Yeah.
Although they're all meant to be like millennia old, you're like, no.
You don't look millennia old. These look like, I'll be perfectly honest with you, this is just one of those games that I looked at and I was like, I cannot, even though you are right, the combat, enjoyable.
It's all right.
Parts of it, enjoyable. I cannot put to the side the fact that these women sound like they're having sex when they're fighting.
Yeah.
They look... I'm a millennial. Would you look 12? You look 12.
Every time they jump, they say, like a kangaroo, and it made me want to break my fucking ears off.
And the dialogue, the lines in it, oh my... Just what?
There were points where I was streaming it where I thought, is this a crime?
It does feel, I mean, there was a point where you were streaming and I was thinking, do we need to cancel the stream?
Are we going to get...
Yeah.
Is someone going to break down Darren's door and take it away?
Yeah.
It was very much an I'm going to end up on a list for owning this.
Also, the fact that this didn't win most accurate in embarrassing games is a fucking
Crazy.
Travesty.
That's what you think. Talking of winners of most embarrassing games, my number 2 is Gollum, Lord of the Rings.
That's my number 1.
My number 2 as well.
Okay, right. So we'll hold off to talk about it for the number 1 spot for Keris. I say that. Let's just go into it because that's our number 2s.
All we have left are number 1s.
So number 1 for Keris was Gollum.
Yeah.
What a mess.
Why is it your number 1, Keris?
I thought it was taking a piss on Tolkien's grave. That's what it was. I fucking love Lord of the Rings, okay? I would kill for a proper Gollum game. I think that's a fucking cool concept. Everything about this was done poorly. Everything. It looked fucking weird. The gameplay was clunky. I know that you're never going to be Andy Serkis. You're never going to be Andy Serkis, but it was a poor impression on the voice as well. There's not a single thing about this that I like.
It does lack a redeeming feature, doesn't it? That's the problem. I mean, 3D platformers. I mean, we've just had Astrobot come out. 3D platformers can be done well still. Yeah. Stealth games can still be done well. Yeah. A stealth platform, there's plenty of them that I can think of. You know that. What was the one with the goblins? I can't remember what it was called. I think it was called Stealth.
Sticks.
Sticks or something like that. There's a bunch of different games that have done it well. They just haven't gone to a mass appeal because they're normally like AA developers.
Yeah.
And for some reason, with an IP this big, it still went to a AA, an A, a B- developer, and they absolutely ruined it. And as you said, the voice acting. There's enough people who have that voice in their repertoire, I'm sure voice actors-wise, that they could have got someone better. But they always went, oh, we don't want to be associated with the Lord of the Rings. The title of your game is The Lord of the Rings, Gollum.
Yeah. I think I felt particularly thing about it because I like Lord of the Rings is like one of my favourite things ever.
And it handles appallingly.
It's bad. And trying to stream it and the gameplay of it was so bad that it was just like, I'm not going to get through anything that I meant to get through because it's not designed for me to be able to play this game.
No.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, we all know, am I the best gamer in this fucking podcast? Absolutely fucking not. I am not always good, okay? This time it was not my fault.
It is a bad game. That's all it is. And I can see why it won embarrassing as well, because it should never have happened. That's the thing. Yeah. This game should never have happened. The other one, there are people that appeals to. This, I don't think, appealed to a single person.
Although if that game does appeal to you, you're going to have a real good look in the mirror, son.
It's embarrassing to play Neptunia. It is embarrassing that Gollum exists.
That's it. Yeah. It's a shame because there are some alright Lord of the Rings games out there. It's just we haven't really had one in a while.
No. Yeah. Shout out to Third Age. You're still profoundly average, and I love you.
I would say PS2, the Two Towers,
and
Supremacy.
Yeah, perfect. Those were perfect. If they ever remade those, I would love it and also hate it because they wouldn't be as good as I remember. And I assume number one for you, Darren, is the same as mine, which is Snow Bros. Fuck me, Snow Bros.
It's just nothing, is it?
There's a point, I look at it, and it sounds, but I hate the fact I'm saying Snow Bros is a horrible game, but it is a horrible game. At the time, I'm sure it was a fine game.
Yeah.
It is a game based on, this is what games were at that point. There wasn't a story. It was a Mario Star 1. There's a princess at the end of the castle, but there's no story development. It's just level after level after level with boring enemy design, pretty rubbish handling controls, and no variety in what you're doing.
The variety is the worst part for me. Yeah. Like, you play a level of Snow Bros and you know the mechanics of that game.
That's it.
And you know the mechanic you are going to be engaging with for the next however long you play it, which I'm going to guess is double-digit minutes.
I mean, I streamed it for, I think, 2 hours, and I hated an hour and 40 of that.
Yeah.
I had about 20 minutes of, this is fine, I understand it, but it's just...
The first 20?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, cool, I've done exactly what I need to do. And I can understand playing on an arcade with your friends back in the 80s where, you know, the other option is to go outside and kick a rock. Like this, you've got an option of that, or you know what, we've got 16 quarters between us. We're going to have a battle to see who could go the furthest.
Yeah.
And that I can see the appeal of. Buying it now, there is no justifiable reason. It being hidden in another game you've purchased, like you buy a game and then that's in an arcade machine within there, fine. But
if it was one of like a collection.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's say not even that. You're playing an RPG and it's like, it's one of the arcade machines that you play within the RPG. You're like, oh, okay, this is funny. And like there's a trophy for getting to level 20. You're like, yeah, all right, no worries. There's something for, but there's just nothing in this that's worthwhile.
It's just like, I appreciate that it's tried to add some stuff in. I appreciate it's tried to be a bit more creative with it. Like you have the, you can play as the different monsters and they all have different abilities. But at the end of the day, it's just not fun.
No, it's not fun.
The core mechanic of it isn't fun.
I mean, I can't really give an opinion on this because I didn't play it at all.
You did watch it.
Uh-huh.
You did watch it, though.
I did watch it, and I'll be perfectly honest, I think that stream was one that I personally found difficult to watch. Because it was like, you did great. You hosted the shit out of it because there was nothing else to do with it. Like, it was like, oh, okay.
Like, I reckon that Gollum is probably a worse game. But I think I could force through more of Gollum just on the fact of enjoying its terribleness.
Yeah.
So the concept of like, there's the valley of entertainment where things at the very top are great and things at the very bottom are great. And this is just in the fucking well of, there is nothing here.
I think that's fair. I mean, fundamentally, it does exactly what it needs to do. But times have changed, and that's what it is. Times have changed.
Yeah.
So those are our worst games. We do have like an actual top 3 ranking, which I think is... Oh, I'm trying to remember from my head. I think it's Gollum number 1.
Yeah.
Snow Bros 2 and Mega Dimension Neptunia is our third worst game.
Good showing for embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, embarrassing.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought embarrassing would contain the worst games?
None of Correctly Panned made it.
No,
Bravo.
Because they're now good. They're now good games. Talking of good games, should we move into our top 5s? Because there's a lot more variety here because of how many good games there were. We played, it was 11 episodes, 33 games were bought, and I think we all have a wide variety of idea of what we think our favourite games are.
Yeah.
Doing that, we'll do the same thing again. 5th best game. I'll start because I think it's on Darren's list. the same level as mine.
Okay.
And I think it's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is my number 5, yeah.
And I don't think Keris has it on her list because she did not enjoy
It's not
Spider-Man.
I didn't. And I want to say I can totally get why other people like it. I just don't think it was for me. Nah.
That's fair.
I will say, imaginary guest host Lauren also did not like Spider-Man for the same reason. Something about the controls, you either immediately gel with it or they are completely impenetrable, and I don't know what it is.
I obviously the controls work for me.
Yeah.
Swinging is wonderful, and the fighting is reminiscent of Rocksteady's Batman's,
Arkham.
the Arkham Asylum games, and it's just a nice little throw. It just felt very much of that Xbox 360 era, but much nicer, and they fully developed. The city. The city is amazing. I mean, looks wise, I think there's nothing you can argue about. Keris.
No,
it's
beautiful.
a beautiful game. And Spider-Man is great. I don't like what they've done with the Spider-Man character, where he's changed looks now.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they did it, but I think the story's pretty compelling. They use a fairly unknown villain, which I liked.
This is what I like the most about it. I think it is a game that feels like it has a lot of love for its source material.
Yeah.
It's not just like, to go back, it's not just a Golem where they went fucking IP game together.
Yeah.
This is like the characters and the villains that are involved in this and the way they're woven into the story. It's so compelling because of how in love it feels with its source material.
Yeah.
And how you get those villains, even those who are in it for like 20 minutes.
I mean, they do throw in that, like a bit more. Like the Vulture gets thrown in, Scorpion gets thrown in. I think Rhino.
You
comes
basically
in.
boss rush the Sinister Six at the end.
Yeah.
But I love how even in the 10 minutes they are there, they matter.
Yes.
Like the whole Miles Morales coming into the story is due to the Rhino, I believe. And there's a whole boss fight where you're playing as him and Rhino and Scorpion are just fighting because they don't fucking like each other.
Yes.
And it's such a nice little thing that didn't need to be there. You could have just fought one in a generic arena and another in a generic arena. And they went, no, we're going to have a little stealth section where you basically go past two of the bosses scrapping because they want to be the more important boss.
Yes.
And it's just interesting. Everything's done not just the simplest way it could be. There's care and attention put into it.
And it's beautifully cinematic at the moment.
It's great.
It's just great.
It's
and then
amazing.
obviously then the follow-ups, which are also very good.
Very good.
But no, I'm happy with that being my number 5. What was your number 5 though, Keris?
My number 5 was Devil May Cry 5.
Not on my list.
Not on my list. I honestly forgot it was in the season.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Devil May Cry 5. I had a great time on that game. I'm a big Devil May Cry fan anyway. I really like it, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought the way you could switch between the characters was good. The combat was fucking sick. It was really good. It felt really good to play. I really liked the design of the worlds that you had to be in. I don't think there was much I didn't like about it, to be honest. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I really didn't gel with this one. I don't know what it was. I love the first Devil May Cry. I think that's the problem. I keep holding Devil May Cry up to this mantle of the first one, and I wasn't very good at it because when it came out, I was like, what, 10? I don't know. But like, you were young. You're never going to get past that point, and you get to like the lava spider, you're like, oh, I can't do it, and it's just this devilishly hard game.
Yeah.
Whilst I felt like this was, I didn't like the switching of the characters. I'd rather have just played as Dante.
Oh yeah,
That's just me.
I mean, I do get it because I feel very much the same about the first one. To the extent that I've only ever played 1 and 2. So when it came to 5, it was a big change. But I feel like had it been on a similar level to 1 and 2, it would have been more disappointing. I actually really liked that it was something really fresh. I really liked it.
And I'm not taking that away from you. I think if you enjoy it, it's a style of game that you either gel with or don't gel with, isn't it? That's the same thing.
I've played like half an hour of this. I don't think it's going to be for me, but it's definitely one where I was like, this needs more than I'm willing to give it right now.
Yeah.
But I did really like what I played. But I think, as you said, you're very in tune with score attack and like chasing the rank. Yeah. And that does nothing for me.
Yeah.
No. So I'm like, I don't.
I think that's how I felt about Spider-Man in that, like, I didn't gel with that, so I do get it. But if it was between Spider-Man and Devil May Cry 5 for me, it'd be Devil May Cry 5 Cry.
That's fair.
5 Cry? Yeah. I know.
5 Cry Devils.
I know what I meant.
Number 4 games. I think my game is featured later, so I'll announce my number 4 game was Horizon Zero Dawn. And that's
mine
higher on your list.
Mine,
higher on your list.
Not mine.
So we'll move on to someone else's number 4. Who wants to go for their number 4 first?
I'll go. My number 4 game of the season was Spiritfarer.
Oh, okay.
Not on my list.
I was a bit gutted it's not on mine now, but...
Were you going to take it off and knock out Devil May Cry? Are you?
No.
I fucking adore Spiritfarer.
Yeah.
It's just the most lovely game. It's presented beautifully. It's got a really nice, like, bright, cartoony art style to contrast nicely with the fact that everyone's dead.
Yeah.
It's so... I love that it doesn't shy away from the emotionality of the game. It is about people dying and moving on to the other side, and that is entirely what it's about, and it pulls no fucking punches with that.
No.
Every goodbye you say to one of those characters will have you fucking bawling.
Garrus was happy on stream not to get to that point. Let's put it that way. But we have people watching it who are going, "Oh, this helped me get through the loss of my mother" and stuff like that. You're like, fucking hell. But it is. It's such a beautiful game in how it looks. Not outside. The musical score is wonderful in it. Everything feels purposeful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are moments where you're just trying to find items and you get lost, but that's a part of the game.
Like this game does pivot between everything is happening and the grind.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's just sort of how it is. You just sail around, but that also gives you more time to like bond with the spirits on your boat.
Yeah.
You're not just like, okay, do all your missions, ship you off, do all your missions, ship you off. You have to sail around with all these people on your boat, and you just go and you talk to them, you feed them, you give them hugs. You like upgrade their little houses, except for the one who, if you upgrade their house, they get mad, and you have to remember that. Because there is a trophy for raising everyone to max happiness. And if you ever upgrade a house, you lock yourself out of that trophy. And she is like the second to last spirit.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But it's just like so brilliantly made. As you say, like it knows exactly the message it's trying to communicate, and it communicates that message beautifully.
Yeah.
And I think it's great.
I loved streaming this. It was an absolutely... As you said, it's just a really beautiful game on so many different levels. Like, it looks beautiful, but like... It hits you with that emotionality like really, really like 5 seconds into the game, because I remember streaming it and being like, hang the fuck on, am I death?
Yeah.
Like, am I death? Where is is death dying? Like, what is happening? And it's not a spoiler because it happens in the first 2 seconds of the game. And even in that moment, I was like, holy shit. Like, I'm letting myself in for, like, a fucking cry fest. But yeah, this is nuts. I loved it. I thought it was an amazing game. Absolutely amazing.
The complete opposite intro to a game from an earlier season for Death, which I think was Death Flipper. Is that the name of that?
Flipping Death.
Flipping Death, where you literally, you start being Death and go, I'm on holiday, you're taking over for 2 weeks, thanks mate. And that's how it started. Very, very different vibes. This very much hits. But yeah, number 3 should we move on to then? Or have we not done...
I don't think we did Curse's.
You have done 4, haven't we?
Mine was BioShock.
That is
which-
higher on my list.
Okay, all right.
Which is where I got confused.
There you
So
go.
number 3s. Keris, what's your number 3?
Mine was Until Dawn.
Okay.
Not on
not
my
my-
list.
Not on yours. Okay.
I love it, but not that much.
I'm a big fan of the Supermassive games.
You're a
since
Supermassive fan of
I'm a
Supermassive?
Supermassive fan of Supermassive. And I think...
Massive super fan.
controversially, I've always said, like, to be honest, The Quarry is my favourite. But I love Until Dawn. I think it's incredibly atmospheric. It's kind of the first... Before The Quarry, this was kind of my first introduction to it, that kind of game, that kind of style of game. I think it's wonderfully creepy. I think the acting in it is great. Like, there's lots of people you'd recognise in there. And I think that it creates that really good feeling of isolation in there, because there's so many of the different horror tropes that are in there that are just kind of thrown at you the whole time, and it feels very much like you are a part of a proper horror movie. I really liked it. I thought that was really good.
They did. I think this is one they do the best. I mean, The Quarry I think is up there. It's interchangeable. I think they both spent enough time on these. The Man and the Dan, the Dark Pictures anthology isn't quite the same level, but it's the choices do genuinely feel like they matter in this, even though there is very much a linear path. But you can fuck up and anyone can die, and they do this so well. And it is the first one in there, and it did open up the doors. And I think a lot of people do say it's the best one. Are you looking forward to the new one going out then?
Yes.
Of Until Dawn, even though it's got a £60 price tag.
I was going to say the newer Supermassive game is apparently very good. They came out like a week ago.
Oh, the
casting of Frank Stone.
the one for Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
That's apparently one of the best.
The only thing that as you brought it up, the only thing that I'm like about is the fact that it's 60 quid.
Yeah.
Because it's a game I already have and it's a game I already own and it's the same game. It just looks a bit better. So I would prefer it if it was a bit cheaper. If I'm perfectly honest, I'm not going to be running out to get that one.
If it had a £40 price tag, I think people would be more excited for it.
Lauren thought it was going to be like a £25 upgrade.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's a new game. She's like, oh, well, fuck that then.
That's it. Yes. So that was your number 3. Number 3 for yours, Darren.
My number 3 game of the season is Code Vein, a game I like so much I played it twice.
It is your reggae sauce.
Yeah, I don't know why this fucking grabbed me so bad. Because I remember playing it, and I played like an hour of it, and it just was fine.
Yes.
It didn't really do anything for me. And then it came to me for the podcast, like, I've been meaning to play this. Jumped into it, and it's just great. The way the abilities work is structured so well, the way they like, unlike in other Souls-likes where you have to build up your class from the beginning, in this, your stats are tied to basically the class you have built. So you can be like, oh, I want to use like a faster class. I have 4 of these classes available to me. One is close combat fast, one's long distance fast, one's like basically break fast, like running, come out. But it combines that with a really, I won't say interesting world design, but I think the story going on there is interesting. There's a lot of stuff about like everyone basically requires like these blood drops, these blood tree things to exist, and something fucky's going on there. I do think it's funny how this game cannot stick to one plot line.
Nope.
It likes to wrap up a plot line and then immediately start another one, and it does it I think 5 times over the course of the game. Just abandons what it was doing and goes, this is the plot now.
It's very anime in how it's done, isn't it? You're like,
but just the gameplay of it is so good. It's faster than a typical Souls-like, I would say. Yeah. But I love how it plays. I love how it controls. I love how you just bring a buddy with you. So you can do the whole thing co-op, but you can also bring your buddy with you and you can build them differently.
Right.
So like I started off with a buddy who was very similar to how I was playing. And then I swapped them out for a support focus. And I swapped them out for a sniper.
Right.
So I would run in and just like hack and slash basically while someone was picking off shots from a distance. And it made that work a lot better. You can like revive each other constantly. The platinum grind is a fucking mess in this game. But I just think it's phenomenal. I loved it.
That's fair. I mean,
it corrupted my save 10 minutes from the end, and I played the whole thing again straight away.
And if you're like Karis, you can spend 3 hours just making a character.
You can.
I love that.
The character creating that is fucking mad.
It was so good. I mean, we know I'm a fucking sucker for character creation anyway, but like that was just cool.
Great.
I genuinely think the stream is about 2.5 hours, and I think an hour of it is you and character creator.
I loved it.
Beat the first boss though.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. And it felt good. It felt good.
It's that Souls-like.
It is.
Souls-like buzz.
I really enjoyed the stream of that. I did. I thought it was cool.
It's a really cool
I loved
game.
it.
My number 3, Returnal.
Fair. Yeah.
Which is just on our vault. It's a superb game. I still can't beat it, but it's a superb game. Honestly, everything about it is. I think the reason this does so well is because it's built for the PS5 and how it's done. So
100%.
the haptic feedback, you're getting the sound, you're getting everything through the controller. It's the same reason people like Astrobot. They feel like they're immersed in it, and you're getting all that through the controller at the same time. You've got the half fire, you've got the full trigger, you've got the react in time with it, but you can also listen to the sound to know when to reload. Everything feels good, and the story builds really, really well in it. And you dying, it doesn't punish you in that way. It gives you actually more story beats by you failing. So you get to learn more about why you're going forward. So you never at any point feel like, oh, this is awful. I'm at a loss now. And the beating the bosses do feel amazing because they are superbly cinematic. To the point where they're so good, I'm pretty sure that Remnant 2 ripped off some of the bosses for their final boss.
As it should. Fuck it.
I mean, Remnant 2 is an homage to a bunch of different games on there, and I'm pretty sure the final boss is an homage to Returnal. And is it the final boss? Yeah, the final boss. But it just feels so good. I mean, I think it was Nemesis I spent ages on in Returnal, and it's just because it's such a cinematic and massive thing. You mess up once, you're fucked, but you don't feel like it's unfair. You know you messed up. And that's what I think is really good about this game.
Yeah, there was never a point in Returnal where I was like, that's fucking stupid. There were points, because in the episode it was in, I played all of those games.
Yeah.
In the other two, there are points where I'm like, that was fucking stupid.
Yes.
What do you mean? What was I meant to do there?
Yeah.
Risk of Rain's fucking full of them.
Yes.
You'll just be like 3 loops in and someone will shoot you in the back of the head. You're like, fine,
Okay. Yeah.
whatever. Returnal is always like, you are in control enough and the gameplay's so tight that you're like, if I fuck up, it's my fault.
Yes.
It's not the game has like screwed me in some way. I just know what I'm doing here.
And it gives you enough chances to give another extra life as well,
Yeah.
which is quite nice.
I obviously I played this for the
episode itself.
The episode itself, and I think I can really appreciate why this is in your top 5, because it is fucking beautiful. It's such a beautiful game, and it is good fun to play. I just think it's the type of game that I don't gel with.
Yeah.
I hate that having to go back to the beginning every time you die. It just, for me, and my poor little brain needs like progress, and if I don't feel like I'm getting that, it's just like ugh.
I see. I get that, but I do feel like this one is a bit more forgiving when it comes to other roguelikes that you progression. You can sort of like jump to different levels at certain points, but it's a long way. You have to unlock those abilities.
Yeah,
but, you know,
this is.
I
like,
agree with that.
The only problem I have with it, I don't know, I'm just misremembering parts of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this one, more than other roguelikes, ties you very much into, depending on the things you find in terms of like upgrades, ties you into this is now the way you have to play it.
Yeah.
Like in Risk of Rain, you can just dick about until you find the things you need.
Yeah.
And this feels very much like you find your first item and it's, like this happens when you do this kind of attack.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I guess that's how I'm playing this
Yes,
run.
it does. It does.
I guess
very
I'm stuck doing this now. Whereas the other ones are like, you just go and eventually you'll find something that'll make it work.
Yeah, in the other ones, the guns are nice additives. This is like, your gun is your playstyle.
Yeah.
I agree. Number twos. Let's take little poops everywhere.
Yeah.
Number 2. What's your number 2 game, Karis?
Mine is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Lovely.
Cool, that was my number 4, I believe it is.
Yeah.
It's not on yours. So, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, so I properly really kind of fell in love with this when I played it, if I'm honest. And I've just gotten too distracted by other things, unfortunately, to go back to it, but I fully intend to. I think I said this on the episode, I played the first one and I was like really impressed, but it wasn't like...
Well, you played the second one, didn't you? You played, because this was the first one.
Yes, yeah, I played the second one, and I think that makes sense because I said, didn't I, because I hadn't played the first one, it's kind of being thrown in the deep end, and I loved it, but I was like, oh, I'm missing something. Something is not clicking with me. And I played the first one, and that it was immediately resolved for me, and it throws you into this really emotional story first and foremost. Like, I was really invested in the storyline of it. I was really invested in the characters straight away. This nearly gave me an emotional fucking breakdown about an hour in. I had to like literally take a minute and be like, well, that sucks. Okay.
Love you, Daddy Rost.
Yeah. Daddy Ross, why did you have to leave me? But no, I just loved it. I thought like the whole game is absolutely gorgeous for a start. Like the way that it looks is amazing. The characters are awesome, but like the enemies are really good. I think I said in the episode, like what I really loved was the fact that you really had to think about the way that you approach different things, even though they all look similar, they're really not, and if you fuck up it's because you've forgotten. And I loved it. I thought it was just fab. I loved it.
The world is really well built. You can go into most areas. I know you unlock abilities to traverse, but if you want to fight a Thunderjaw, as soon as you go in there, you can.
Yeah.
You can, and there's a chance you will win, because if you take your time, you're methodical about it, and it's going to take hours because you don't do enough damage.
Yeah.
But it allows you... at no point does it feel like it's locking you out of anywhere. Like, a lot of these big open world games, it very much hit a point where it's like, you don't have this equipment, go away, or here's an invisible wall for some reason right now. Whilst this very much goes, here you go, here's everything.
I think that was another thing I really liked about it as well, because I think I've made it, like, very clear throughout the season and throughout last season as well. Like, I'm not a huge fan of open world games.
Yeah.
As an understatement.
I mean, I was going to say, so far you've been a huge in most of the games.
Yeah. You know, even something like Hogwarts Legacy, for example, as somebody who does like Harry Potter, who does like that world already, I find that game difficult because it's fucking overwhelming. I find open world overwhelming. However, I feel like this game gives you that open world in a way that is like gradual, and that, as you said, you can go off and do whatever you want, but it will kind of sorry, my hay fever's crazy at the moment. It gives it to you in a way that's like, yeah, you can go and explore, but also here's some things that'll ease you into it. And I really appreciated that.
It also doesn't overwhelm you with question marks immediately, I don't think, this game, if I remember correctly.
You have, like, using Hogwarts, you compared it to Hogwarts is very much like, it plops you down at the start of when you get there. It goes, here's the fucking map.
Yes.
You should stay here, but if you want to go to the far end, shine the fuck on.
Yeah, go to the far end. You don't have a broom yet, but we won't tell you that.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, thanks, game, thanks.
This is more like, okay, we're going to go to this area, we're going to do some quests here, and then we're going to move on to this area.
Yeah.
And we're going to do some stuff here. And you can go explore if you want, but everything you need for the next 6 hours
is here. Yeah.
And then we'll move on. It like unpackages the world gradually.
Yeah.
So you feel the scope growing, but not in a way that it becomes too much.
It doesn't feel drip fed. It doesn't feel like you're being limited. It's quite nice.
No.
Yeah.
You have the freedom, but you also have that like safety, I guess, in my respect, in what I would call as
you have
like
that safety trip
net.
net.
Yeah.
Also, fuck Ted Farrow. What a monster.
Yes, fuck Ted Farrow.
What a monster.
Well, quite literally.
Yeah.
So, your number 4 game, Darren.
My number 2 game.
That's what I meant. 4 points.
My number 2 game is Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Nice.
Honestly, first off, what a fucking risk to take as a studio.
Yes.
To take your 6-game beloved beat-em-up series and go, hey, guess what? New protagonist, new setting, turn-based.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you sure?
And then everyone went mental and loved it.
It's fucking great. It's nice to see the Yakuza seamlessly went from very serious men doing silly things to very silly men doing serious things. And suffered no problem with that. Like, the new area is really well done. It's not as, like... I think it's just because it's...
Nostalgia.
It's just the nostalgia. It's not as beloved as Kamurocho from the first ones.
Yeah.
But it's also so... Like, I played Lost Judgment recently, which is set in the same place that Like a Dragon is set.
Yeah.
And I knew immediately where everything was.
Yes.
It plopped me down in the train station. I went, cool, park, batting centre, pawn shop's here.
Yes.
It's what these games do. It sets up this little environment. You nicely know where everything is, where everything you're going to need is. Ichiban is such a good new lead character because he's such an idiot. But you just love him.
Yeah.
You want him to succeed in all the terrible things that are happening to him. You want life to turn around for this poor man.
He's not like an everyman, is he?
No.
But he's so redeemable in everything he does. You know, there's not really a bad bone in his body. He just wants the best for everyone.
Yeah, and like the characters in it are so much fun in their own ways. I love Homeless Nanba and his pigeon attack.
Yes, definitely.
It's just so well done. It's reverence for Dragon Quest specifically.
Well, that's it is. That's all it is. It's a nod to Dragon Quest.
And it's done that by, like, Ichiban loves Dragon Quest, so when he's fighting people on the street, he pictures himself as the hero in Dragon Quest, and that's why it's turn-based. It's just phenomenally done. It's so well built. I haven't played a lot of the Yakuza games. I know it ties in things from that. So much so that, again, in Lost Judgment, one of the party members in Like a Dragon, who I think is in Yakuza 5, is just in the background in a restaurant. I'm like, fucking Shao, my man.
They're so referential to their own games, aren't they?
They love themselves.
It's so wonderfully inbuilt. I'm trying to think of what it's like to equate it to, but it's really hard to. It's the same as, like, you know, the Souls games, for example, when you're playing and then you see, oh, here's Patches again. Oh, it's this guy that they've mentioned it. There's loads of games like it, but then no one does it quite like a Yakuza game that just has this sort of internal, like, if you're a Yakuza fan, you'll know this. Everyone else, nothing for you. And it's like point and laugh at the idiot who doesn't understand the reference.
It's a bit more of a downplayed version of when Chris Redfield appears at the end of 7.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Yes.
Why are you here? But I just think it's, for such a risk to take with that beloved franchise, I think it's so well done. I haven't played the sequel yet, but I'm very excited to get to it.
Yeah.
Loved it. I'm not going to put any more on there. I think.
No, me neither. I will say I streamed it, and I've never played a Yakuza game before, and I had a lot of fucking fun.
And you still haven't played a standard Yakuza game, but you played a different the new way Yakuza's
they're
going.
very good.
I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Beautifully
I thought it was a lot
silly.
of fun. Yeah.
My number 4.
Your number 2.
Yeah, 4 points. I keep getting
What
it
is
wrong.
happening?
I've got it in the reverse order.
yeah.
That's my fault. Is Cyberpunk 2077
Cool.
a game that is a hill that I'm dying on? I died on at the very beginning, and it's just got better and better, leaps and bounds. It's amazing. I know a lot of people didn't like it when it first came out, but now it's huge and it's so well thought out, and I love a first person RPG.
Yeah.
I really do, and I love the setting. I like the choices. They've got characters that you truly care about, characters you do hate, but even if you don't care about the story, there's just so much shit to do.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderfully put together game. I haven't played any of the DLC, but apparently it's Liberty City, I think it is.
Phantom Liberty.
Phantom Liberty, not Liberty City. That's
GTA.
GTA. Yeah. But Phantom Liberty is apparently even better with the game.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, how is this game going from leaps and bounds and getting to where it is right now? I don't think there's much in the way you can fault it now. Graphically, it's one of the better looking games out there. Its combat is brilliant, and you can play it in any way you want to the point where you can augment your own body to make it different. It's got a variety of guns. The stories are interesting. The side characters are fun. The amount of cars you have, it just has everything you want. If only it released like this, and everyone would be singing its praises like I am.
Yeah,
And
I enjoyed what I played of it.
Yeah.
It's one of those that I put on the back burner for a bit, and it just falls down the list because I know how much time it's going to take.
it's a huge commitment.
And I know how much I want to commit to it.
Yeah.
But I just love how realized that world is. I think I talked about this in the episode, that there's the crossings on the street are really fancy in the upper class area, and they're more standard ones in the lower class.
Yeah.
Or a whole side quest is the AI taxis have gone insane.
Yes.
And you have to keep finding them.
There's a brilliant side quest.
It's just so well thought out. They've built this world and then gone, right, this is a poorer area. How would a poorer area look in 2077? It just looks like today.
Yes, it does. It's just there's a lot of love and care, and that's the way I look at this game. There's so much thought, love, and care gone into it that I just love it.
Yeah.
So up next we've got all our number one games. What I'm going to recommend is we do it in the reverse order of how they're appearing on our top 5.
Okay.
So, Keris, what is your number 1 game?
You guys can already guess what my number 1 game is.
No, bro.
This is going to be obvious from day one that I was going to pick Resident Evil 8.
Yeah. We've talked enough about it. Let's move on.
I think, but that's the thing. I've talked about it. I've sung its praises so often. I've streamed the whole thing. It's obvious at this point that I am a big fan of the series in general.
No.
I know you never
I know.
thought.
I'm so surprised.
If it's a choice between this and 7, for me, it's always going to be 7. However, I think I really love this game. I think that they did a really good job of really kind of taking all those classic literature horror tropes and putting it into something that felt really fresh and really good. There were some genuinely scary moments, although I kind of hate that they led a bit more into the action for this. I understand why they did. And that one part with Benvenuto's house is genuinely considered by people a lot in things like the subreddit and in general talk that it's one of the scariest things in the franchise.
It's just horrific.
It is horrible. On replays, it's not scary because you learn the patterns, but that first time you experience it is fucking horrible.
On replays, it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke. But the first time you play it, it's horrible.
Yeah. And the way that the world is built is really good. I really like the characters in it. I like the way that they built on the story from 7. If this is the end of that kind of Winters thing, I think they've left out way too much. I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered.
How it sounds like it's not is from what I
Yeah.
understood from the new director that's taken over and what he's like that they've been hinting at, but you can't guarantee.
Yeah, I do hope they lean more into the horror in 9 again.
That's-
I'm really fingers crossing that that's the case.
Isn't it the director from 7 who's
It
taking
is.
charge? So I think
Yes.
it should go into a bit more of a horror.
So I'm
based.
hoping it will lean a little bit more into the horror for sure. But I really like it. I will sing its praises all day, all night.
I've now got the platinum for it. It's well worth it.
Yeah.
Haven't played it.
I have the platinum
We'll
and
play
it's
it.
fucking great.
My number 1 game is Uncharted 2.
Nice.
It's a superb game. It's the best of the Uncharted. I haven't played 4. I will say it now. I've platinumed the first 3. 2 is the best of those 3.
It is.
There is not a moment where I'm like, God, this game's boring. Everything about it is brilliant. The characters, wonderful. They even bring in a new woman. You're like, oh, is this the love interest? They're like, no, here's the other one. Just everything from the first one is bigger, bolder, more bombastic, shall we say. And then 3 almost jumps the shark, but they managed to write it. 2 just does everything right. The gunplay feels good for its era, that cover-based, quick, shooting type. And the trophies are enjoyable. Everything about it is good. And there's a reason why Nathan Drake became synonymous as the PlayStation mascot. Yes, he may be male Lara Croft, but they've just done something new with him because they can. I mean, he's just capable in every aspect, isn't he? That's the thing.
Yeah.
And every character is fun. It's just a brilliant game. And I'm shocked that I took so long to get to Uncharted. But I think it's because I missed the PS3 era.
Yeah, it's just a game of great set pieces.
Yes.
And I know it feels like it's something that's become a bit more maligned nowadays when a game just boils itself down to set pieces. But when you think of Uncharted, it's so well in just going, right, we're just going to throw explosions at you for 10 minutes. Have a fucking great time.
Oh.
There's the one in Tibet where the building's collapsing as you're going down the floors of
That's
it.
number 2.
There's the train.
That's number 2.
Yeah, exactly. There's again the train once it's off the mountain.
Yeah.
And I have the problem with Uncharted 2 that I have with all the Uncharteds, that I think once it gets into
The final section.
the weird shit at the end, they become infinitely less enjoyable. I think this one has the smallest drop.
That's what I say. It has the smallest drop, and it's also, I think, the smallest time in there, which is why 3 goes in for far too long.
Yeah.
And 1 is not crazy. It's crazy, but it's not as crazy as the other 2. I mean, it's Nazi zombies, you just have, it's just a slower thing. But
It's like Shambhala with the Yeti
that's
big
number 2,
monster
yeah.
things. You're like, well, okay.
And then the third one has all these spirit things. And
that
you're
goes on for years.
Yeah, and it goes on for so long. But this does. I think everything is just the right amount. It's just such a brilliant game.
Yeah.
What's your number 1, Darren? Because it's also shown up on Karis's list.
It has. My number 1 is BioShock.
Yay!
Big ups to my second favourite game of all time.
We've got some real, not classic games, but Uncharted 2 and BioShock are some
Big fucking shit.
almost retro games now, aren't they?
Yeah, shout out to BioShock, which is now 17 years old.
Yeah.
Love it. I just think this is phenomenal. It's a different take on, I would call it leaning on survival horror.
Yeah.
It's a very different take on it.
Yeah.
In that it gives you more of that gunplay thing. You don't really ever feel limited on your ammo or on your resources. But it just, that world is so believable as a world that someone tried to make utopia and they gave them drugs and it went to shit immediately.
Yeah.
Which just, who would have thunk? You give people the ability to shoot thunder out of their fingers, they're going to start killing each other.
Yeah.
Can't trust people.
Can't trust people.
That's the long and short. It only wasn't on my list because I've not given it enough time.
That's fair.
It's still one of those games I need to go back to and play properly. I just haven't. I just don't know what it is. It's one of those games that I haven't. And also, I know it's not particularly long, but I feel like it's one of those games that once you start, I'm going to want to complete it and do the multiple runs to get everything and clear it all up.
I think everything about it is so well realised as well. That world has so many interesting areas and each one feels like you can see the mindset of someone building this big wild city where it come from. Arcadia feels like just a generic we made a foresty level.
Yeah.
But the way it's built is it's full of cafes and little bits like that. It's just a pleasant area to go and spend the day in.
Yeah.
There's the big farmers market area of layers of things. And I also quite like the ideology behind it. I think it's really interesting in how it follows Andrew Ryan as a character, in that he thought this was his utopia and he still thinks it's his utopia. And it's like, it's very much like, it's the people that are wrong.
Yes.
I'm still right. And you have like that Fontaine angle on the other side of like rising up the people to overtake. He who has built this city to be man of the people and people are entitled to their own thing, but has ended up still as this dictatorial leader.
Yes.
And then I don't think it's perfect. I think following its big 2/3 of the game twist, the quality takes a significant dip.
Always does in every
Always
game.
does.
Yeah.
But I still think it's phenomenal. I still think that post midpoint dip is better than a lot of games I've played. It's just like Arcadia, Fort Frolic, Neptune's Bounty is so good in that first half that when you then get to Apollo Square after that, you're like, oh, oh well.
Yeah.
But it's phenomenal.
It genuinely, I get what you mean, because when I think I talked about this a little while ago, when, like, as I've said, Resi 7 is my favourite game ever, and there's that 3/4 of the way through
like
the dip,
steps down,
where you go from the estate to the ship.
Yeah.
And I still love that part, but it's undeniably worse than the first section. But there's not much I can add to that, to be perfectly honest, because I put it in number 4 because I played this originally when I was younger, because my dad played it first. I played it on a PC first of all, and then played it again still quite a while ago. I haven't played it very recently, but it is one of those games that I will always put in as one of my favorites, because as you said, for me, I just love the world that it's built in. I think the enemies in it are actually genius. I really, when I play that game, you immediately get sucked into what it is, and there's something really all-encompassing about it. And you are right, because when that's the reason why when you start it, you immediately kind of want to go back to it. You want to complete everything. You want to explore everything. I think it's partly a nostalgia thing for me. But I really, really do love the world that game builds.
Yeah, that's it. So that's all of our top 5s. I think our overall grouping ranking is, in 5th place is Yakuza Like a Dragon. In 4th place, Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village. 3rd place, Uncharted 2. 2nd place, Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm about to say Forbidden West. And number 1 is BioShock. A really strong list, really good going.
Strong. Better than last year.
Yeah, for sure.
Last year was still good.
Last year was still good, but there was a clear top 5 last year, or like 5, 6. This was like, we had a big array.
Every game that was named, I was like, yeah, that could have been in there.
That could have been. So, should we have a quick little fight over all the little categories? Let's get into it and fight.
Oh, fight.
Round 1, fight!
I in the room made a very over-exaggerated, like, shocked reaction, which was actually kind of legitimate. I wasn't expecting the music. I saw you go to tell the thing, I'm like, oh god, transition.
Yes. So we're going to do... What we normally do here is we normally buy each other 3 games, then we fight over 4 categories. We're only going to be doing it 3 this time. The first 3 being most accurate, value for money, most entertaining, and those go to the person who purchased it. At the end is play of the game, which goes to the person who played it. But obviously, this is just a little fight to see which we think fits for those first 3 categories the most. We're not going to spend tons of time on this, but we all have
I think if we had to rank best play of the game, we'd go mad.
We'd go mental. We would go mental. So, most accurate game of the year. Darren, do you want to go first? What's your most accurate game of the year?
My most accurate game of the year is Snow Bros, because it is about bros in the snow and the snow being bros in the snow.
That was literally a game bought just for accuracy and no other reason. So it's a very strong case.
As I think I said this in the episode discussing it, it's like Season 1's Death being Darksiders 2, because you play as Death causing death. You are bros in the snow, throwing snow with you, bro. Snow Bros.
And it did win the snow episode.
It did.
Keris, what are you bringing to the table?
Right, I actually was going to go for something really obvious. Like, I'll be honest, it was 2 that I was thinking of. The first one that came to mind was Man-Eater for fish, because you are a fish eating fish. On similar lines. However, I decided I'm going to go down a little bit of a different path, and I actually went for most embarrassing, and I picked Neptunia for all of the reasons we discussed in the first place, so I'm not going to rehash them. But when a game makes me want to crawl inside my own body to get away from it, it's embarrassing.
It's a bold choice choosing a game that didn't win its own category of most accurate.
I agree with Darren. It should have.
It should have. I fought for it because I mostly will play any game.
Yes.
And I will just own the fact that I'm playing any game.
Yeah.
I passively am thinking about going back to this, and I can't bring myself to do it because I don't want to admit to myself that I'm playing it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And I am bringing Yu-Gi-Oh! For turn-based because
You just take fucking turns.
the whole game is taking turns in a card game over and over again as you get slowly further and further through the game. There's nothing else in it. It's literally taking turns of playing cards.
You also turn over cards.
And you turn over cards. So there's extra turns.
There's lots of turns.
So many turns.
It's like, which do we think? So I actually had ranked 3 games before coming into this, and Snow Bros was on my list of top 3. Neptunia wasn't, but Snow Bros was second in my ranking, whilst this was first. You said this was second in your ranking.
I had Snow Bros first and Yu-Gi-Oh! Second.
Yeah.
So, Keris, out of Snow Bros and out of Yu-Gi-Oh!, which do you think is the most accurate of those two?
Listen, if I'm deciding, it's Snow Bros because
That's
it's
fair.
Throws in the snow, throw it snow with your bro.
It's really hard to not choose Snow Bros. And to be honest, I was teetering, but I imagine you the same as teetering because there is so... Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so accurate for it, and Snow Bros is so accurate. Man-Eater was my third and Darren's third, and that's what you were thinking about, and it could have easily been in there. But okay, Snow Bros was our most accurate game of the season. Also, our worst game of the season.
Well done, Snow Bros.
Well done, Lee, for buying the worst one. Second up is value for money. Now, this is a harder one because it's obviously trying to remember how much we spent on the games. I doubt we all have the money cost off the top of our heads.
No.
But it's still fine. We can still do it. We can still work out roughly what's going on there. Keris, what is the best value for money game?
I personally put down Horizon Zero Dawn. I just think with the amount of content you get in that game and how it looks and how much time you can spend on it, I just think it's very valuable.
I think for that one it was a $5 or something.
I think it was £4.
It was something really, really low around that point, and it's got about it's probably about 50 hours I think worth of play. I'm not going to pull everything up here, but I think for the money, the price point of that, because it is such a cheap game, it's such a good pick. Darren, which one did you have?
I, for value for money, went for Dragon Quest 11 from
good
choice.
An £8.42 game for a fucking JRPG. Like, you can't go wrong.
No,
There's just shitloads of content in that game.
And it's a fun game as well. You want to go and do it.
And those fun accents for 842.
I have 3 again. I thought about Enter the Gungeon for roguelikes because
you can play it forever.
No Man's Sky for critically planned because, again,
you can play forever.
And the game that everyone does actually play forever, Skyrim for vampires. Because unlike obviously a JRPG, you can play so much of it. Who puts down Skyrim? No one... People have their annual Skyrim play. You know, like, it's one of those things like, I'm going to play through differently, and then they play a Stealth Archer again. And it's every year. The amount of people I know who are going, I'm just doing my normal Skyrim run, I'm doing something different this time, and they get back to it. But, every year, someone is playing Skyrim. Like, at
someone's
some point,
always playing Skyrim.
Which makes it, for me, I think the most valuable... most value for money or something. I can't remember how much was spent on it. I don't think it was over £10.
I think it was around the £10 mark.
It was around it, but it wasn't over. I don't think
so.
It was around there. But just because of the sheer content of that game, and also, I mean, I know we bought it on PlayStation, but there are mods available for it. There is so much more you can do with that game. Which game do we think is the best value for money? I like the argument that yours is so cheap, Keris. Because of it. The only thing that draws you down is, I think, out of the 3 of them, it's got the least amount of content in there. Yours is a midpoint, Darren, with a big JRP thing. But for me, I just can't not look at Skyrim because it is infinitely replayable.
I'll be honest. I have other games on my list. As soon as you said Skyrim, I was like, fucking yeah. That's a lot of game for not much money, isn't it? Like, it was, I think, on the more expensive side. But I think it compounds by, as you say, I've watched Lauren play Skyrim more than I think I've played most games. I've put like 200 hours into RPGs.
Yeah.
And I'll go back and she's like, oh, I'm just on my like 17th run of Skyrim. I'm like, what? How?
How are you doing it? But I mean, there's not really much in the way of changing the quest, but it's just something really pleasing about slowly clearing the map and doing it in a different way.
It's a nice, pleasant game.
Skyrim to win.
I think so.
I think it's fine.
Skyrim wins most value for money, which I think was that, who bought that one?
I bought that one.
You bought that one, did you, Darren?
I bought that for you for vampires.
I know it was for vampires, I just can't remember who bought it. Last up is most entertaining.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that hasn't gone first. I'm going for a real rogue choice here.
Go for it.
With Catherine.
Okay.
The most entertaining. Now,
It's a weird fucking game.
It's a weird game. The whole way through, with the story, I mean, the actual gameplay isn't all that exciting going up and down, but the story itself, it was like a soap opera to the point where we streamed it, and then we came back for another stream to finish it off. I've not seen Keris as vocal in a chat watching it.
Yeah.
I've not seen other people as vocal in a chat because everyone's like, what the
It's kind
fuck
of
is
wild.
going on?
Yeah.
It's just so crazy that these things just keep happening and compounding and building. I don't think it's the best game. That's not what I'm choosing it for. I'm not choosing it for the best game we've played. I'm choosing it for the most entertaining game.
Yeah, fair.
Because I think for its time, I couldn't really... And I was fighting for certain people to end up with. I don't know why I was. I didn't really care. I shouldn't have cared, but I did. I was invested. Who wants to go second for the most entertaining game?
I'll go, but just because it's really short.
Resident Evil 8.
It's Resi 8.
Oh, for God's sake.
Fucking love it. Okay, I love it. I platinumed it. I fucking do it again. I love it. It does it.
Cool. My most entertaining game of the season is Code Vein because I played it twice. I have nothing else. I look at all the games I played this season. I don't think there was another game on that list I would have put 25 hours into, had my save corrupt, and gone, okay, back to the start.
That is fair. There's three really good choices there. None of the ones being the ones I expected.
No.
I was actually, I tell a lie. One of them being exactly what I expected from Keris. Resident Evil 8 was going to be on there.
Hey, I don't mind being predictable.
If nothing, she's a creature of habit.
I love it.
It's really hard to choose the most entertaining there. I think Resident Evil 8 has a lot going for it. It's not as good as 7, as you said.
Yeah.
I do think there are points where I genuinely felt it's a bit of a trudge at moments during it, and it's mainly when, we switch characters. I'm just like, no, I don't care about this. But I think it's really well done. As you said, I don't think this has the replayability of 7. I know you have to, but I don't think it does. But Catherine is wild, but I don't think I'm going to be going back to it over and over again. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I had a really fun ride, but I'm not going to go back and get all 11 endings or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Code Vein is a Souls-like, so I'm a sucker for a Souls-like.
It's fun. It's endearing. You have to play it, I think, 3 times, and I happily played it 3 times.
I just don't know. Okay, if we got all these as our top ones.
Yeah.
Out of these top ones, which is everyone's second favourite of the 3 that have been mentioned?
See, mine is by default.
Well, no, but you've still seen stuff being played. You don't have to necessarily have played it.
I was going to say, I haven't played either of yours. Well, I've played yours. Yeah.
But you've seen them, haven't you?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think Resi 8 is probably the better game. I maybe lean towards Catherine being more entertaining.
This is where I am.
I love a fucking Atlas game.
Yeah.
And I played it.
Yeah.
I played it for the episode. And I enjoyed what I played.
Yeah.
I had a nice time with Catherine.
This is where I am, in that I really actually did enjoy playing Code Vein. I thought it was really good. But that stream was fucking wild. It's probably the most fun I've had watching a stream, if I'm honest.
I think as much as we fight between what we mean by most entertaining, I think this is the only opportunity we will ever have to actually vote on it being the most entertaining.
It was a wild ride, wasn't it? Are we going with Catherine?
It's a weird fucking game, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's go
for Catherine.
If it makes you feel better, I would have said Resi.
I know,
That's because you just haven't played enough Code Vein.
In fairness,
that is probably fair.
The games, both Code Vein and Resi, are brilliant to play, but it's not very often you come across a game that you haven't played that was genuinely fucking mental to watch.
Yeah. I think as well, in maybe the same vein as the played it twice argument, I don't think there is ever a scenario where I would go to stream one of the episode games and then at the end of it go, I think we have to bring this back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It was. I felt like I had to finish it.
So entertaining. It got a second stream.
stream.
I didn't need
I
one.
did not need one. Brilliant. So we're going with Catherine as most entertaining. What a wild choice. I went off on one and I thought it did work.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of our reflection of this season.
Yeah.
Which is exciting because it
is.
now means that season 4 is on the horizon.
Yeah.
But before we go into season 4, we need to know what we'll be playing for our first episode of season 4.
Yeah.
So we need to pull up the random genre generator.
Woo!
Okay.
Darren.
For the intro to season 4, we have been provided by the random genre generator. Souls-likes.
Oh,
Which is nice.
It's
Good.
Oh no.
Pleasant.
You've even said you've enjoyed playing Code Vein.
Yeah,
It's a
but
Souls-like.
It's a Souls-like.
Honestly, I think they are... It's weird. Souls-like I'm a massive fan of. I do think the market is starting to become a little oversaturated with them. And also, I think the line of what a Souls-like is becoming more and more blurred.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what we actually pull out of it.
The games where you hate yourself for about 20 minutes and then you beat a boss and you love everything about life.
It's weird that
And then you loop that.
I don't think I've ever really hated any of the Souls-like games. I think I really struggled with my first foray into them, and then afterwards I've then just accepted.
I think there are points where I've been walled so bad by a boss that I've hated it. And I could probably point to a boss in most Souls-like I've
That's
played
fair.
and gone, yeah, that boss was a fucker.
Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, that's what we're going to be doing for season 4. But thank you everyone for coming along, listening to a lot of rambles about games and just gushing over them for what we've done this season. Hopefully we get some good ones going forwards.
Yeah.
If you want to find out more about us, do check us out on our socials at disccountpod, which is on Instagram. We can catch us all separately at Discount Darren, Discount Karis, and Discount Josh. That's all with 2 C's. But yeah, we're all on Instagram, varying levels. Darren was doing well for a while, then
I was.
stopped. Karis was doing well for a while, then has died off a little.
I posted yesterday.
If you want a little behind the scenes, the reason I stopped is because the next one I have to talk about is Lego 2K Drive, and I couldn't work out quite what to say about that.
I stopped because I'm a teacher and I thought I was going to die
That's fair.
Fine.
this week.
But yes, we have those on Instagram. We do also stream 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. If you liked any of our games, go check them out on YouTube because we have streamed all of these games.
Yeah.
And they are now up on YouTube. Both Twitch and YouTube are at Discount Pod
I
as
do
well.
have a lovely forfeit stream coming up that I'm going to panic all the way through. So
It'll probably be around Halloween time, like it is
Yeah.
every year.
Spooky.
And we'll look forward to it.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for coming along. Thank you for making season 3 just as good as we wanted it to be. Hopefully next season is even bigger, even bolder, even crazier, and maybe Karis will win one.
Maybe we won't buy a bad game.
we'll fucking see.
Thank you all. Thank you for being our player force, and we'll catch you all next time.
Bye.